This is for educational and entertainment purposes only.
Do it. I love those stories.
What's up? It's your boy Stevie83, and we're back with another react. You know what I'm saying? Today, we're just reacting to some stories off TikTok. Just some average stories about people's lives. Just some random stuff. This is a random day. Let's get into it, man. These people crazy.
This is a real story. So lately, I've been feeling kind of not myself.
What?
Yeah. And you know I'm religious. I'm very religious. So I decided to go to church on a Wednesday.
Oh, okay. That's sick.
Okay.
So I went to church.
Hey,
and,
don't matter what day you go.
This is going to sound scary to you, but
Yeah.
when it came time for like communion, you know, when you get the bread, the Eucharist.
Yeah.
This is kind of fucked to say, but like I was walking toward the priest and I had this urge to laugh. Yeah, fam.
Whoa.
Yeah, no, like I had this urge to like burst out laughing. I was scared, right? I just kept praying and then
In
I
church?
locked it away like.
This dude
and then one night I had a
weird.
dream. It was like I heard someone screaming. I was in the living room and I heard someone screaming for their life. They were like screaming like, "Get me out!" Like screaming. This is exactly what I heard in my head. You're gonna get scared. Okay. This is exactly what I heard in my head. This is gonna scare you though. I don't know.
No,
Wow,
do
man,
it.
come on. That's bogus.
This cursed family took the lives of over 1,000 people. This is the true story.
Ain't no way that shit ain't true.
In the 1950s, in the small town of Ravens Hollow, Ohio, there was a family called the Crow family. The Crows lived in an old house on the edge of the forest. People in town hated them because of their looks, saying they were strange and didn't belong. One night, the townspeople set fire to their house, thinking they were getting rid of a curse, but the Crow family survived. They disappeared into the forest, angry and broken. From that day on, they swore revenge.
Hell yeah.
Later, people began to
I
vanish
would.
near Ravenwood Forest. Hikers, travelers, even townsfolk. Survivors say the Crows hunt and eat people as payback for what the town did to them. They hunt anyone who enters the forest, setting deadly traps, pits lined with spikes, hidden bear traps, and hanging wire nooses. They laugh when they hunt, and they drag their victims under.
Were those hands on the
only thing
steps?
they leave behind is a bloody crow feather. In the 1980s, a girl named Emily escaped after her friends disappeared while camping. She said the crows whispered as they chased her, "You burned us, now we burn you." Today,
What
no one goes
the-
near Ravenwood Forest. Locals say you can still hear laughter and snapping twigs in the dark. If you see a crow feather at the forest's edge, don't go in. The
I'm
Crow
trying to
family
go
is still
in.
waiting hungry for revenge.
I'm
In
trying to go there.
2012, someone went on Reddit and asked people to share their personal glitch in the Matrix stories. A glitch in the Matrix story is any story where something totally unusual happens that doesn't have a logical explanation. So these are true
Factual?
stories, or at least purported to be true. They're first-hand accounts, and they're very popular on Reddit. And so this particular query on Reddit got very popular. It went totally viral. And so there were thousands and thousands of stories commented down below. So lots of people gave their glitch in the Matrix story.
Factual.
Now, the top comments, so the top stories that were given, were really, really interesting. But by far, the best response, the best glitch in the Matrix story, got no attention at all. It was buried at the bottom of 14,000 plus comments. This story, which was written by a person who just went by Sarah X11, should have gone completely viral. It should have been the top comment by far. But for whatever reason, it wasn't. And so
That's how I feel like my stuff is. My stuff's just buried.
now, 10 years later, no one really knows about it. While we don't know for sure if Sarah X11's story is true, as it is just an unverified first-hand account, what we do know is that this was the first story that Sarah X11 had ever posted to Reddit about glitches in the Matrix. The majority of her Reddit activity consisted of liking cute pictures of cats and dogs. So this person, this user, was not on Reddit for clout. Also, when Sarah X11 posted her story in this Reddit thread, there were already thousands and thousands of comments posted. So if they were trying to get recognized through this story, they chose the worst post to do it on. If you want to get recognized in a comment section and be a top comment, typically you have to be one of the very first comments after this thing gets posted. And so she's posting after thousands and thousands of people have done this. So in my mind, it seems like this post by Sarah X11, this story, has got to be true. And even if it isn't true, it's one of the coolest stories I've come across on the internet that is guaranteed to give you goosebumps. Okay, here we go. In 2006, a 20-year-old woman named Sarah started having some very strange dreams about a woman named Aurora. She had a very striking face with sharp features and long black hair. Now, her dreams varied. Sometimes Sarah was in a crowd of people, or she was at her office, or she was just alone in a room. But in all of her dreams, Aurora would always show up. Either she would interact with Aurora and they would speak, but Sarah could never remember what they actually spoke about, or Aurora would just be in the crowd or in the background just watching Sarah. Now, she had these dreams enough that eventually Sarah began to think, I must know someone named Aurora. I must have come across this person, and now they're just kind of manifesting in my brain at night when I'm sleeping. And so she began going through her older posts on social media to look in pictures of her and of her friends to see if there was a woman with striking features and long black hair that was this Aurora person in her dream. But after looking through hundreds and hundreds of pictures, she couldn't find any indication that she had met this person, at least not according to her social media.
Right.
And so Sarah began just going on Google and typing in Aurora, long black hair, striking features. Has anybody dreamed about this? To see if there were people talking about having this type of dream on the internet. But she had no luck. Eventually, after about 3 or 4 months of having these strange dreams that Aurora was in, Aurora stopped showing up in Sarah's dreams. It was like it suddenly was all over. And so very quickly, Sarah just kind of forgot about it. A few years later, on Halloween night 2009, Sarah and a friend pulled off the highway into a gas station. They had been out with some friends celebrating Halloween, and now they were making their way back home. Sarah pulled into an empty spot right in front of the convenience store, and after they were parked, Sarah and her friend got out, they went inside, they got some snacks and drinks, and then they came back outside and climbed back into Sarah's car. A few moments later, Sarah had turned her car on, she had backed out, and she had driven past all of the gas station pumps, and she was making her way towards the single-lane strip of road that merged out onto the highway. It was how anybody who got into this gas station got back out onto the highway. And so as she's getting closer to the entrance of this short merge road, her phone suddenly rings. What happens next occurred over a span of just a few seconds. So it might seem like this is over several minutes, but this all happened pretty much simultaneously.
Right.
So she's pulling up to the entrance of this merge road, her cell phone rings, and because there was no one behind her, it was not a busy night, Sarah decides to just stop her car, put it in park so she can safely take this phone call.
What?
And so she stops her car pretty much right in front of the entrance to this merge road, and she picks up her phone, she looks at the number, and she doesn't recognize it, but she picks it up anyways, and she says, hello.
Stops in the middle of the road.
There was silence on her phone, and as Sarah is saying, hello, is anybody there? Another car from the gas station pulls up right behind Sarah's car, and they start honking their horn immediately.
Yeah,
They're in
exactly.
a huge rush.
Get out of the middle of the
And
road.
so Sarah, who's totally embarrassed that she's blocking traffic, she hangs up the phone, she puts it down, she puts her car back in drive, and she hits the gas. But this driver behind her is apparently in such a rush, they're so impatient, that they actually swerved around her, driving on the dirt off to the side of the road just to get around her, and then they sped off down the merge road back onto the highway. And literally, seconds later, another car that was already on the highway, a silver Honda Civic, lost control and smashed into this car that had just passed Sarah's car. So there's this huge car accident literally right in front of Sarah and her friend, who have now stopped the car. They're right at the end of the merge road looking at this horrible accident that they narrowly escaped. Sarah put her car back in park, she picked up her phone, and she called the police. When the police showed up a few moments later, they took down Sarah and her friend's version of events, and then a little while later, after the ambulances had left and after the 2 cars had been pulled off of the highway, one of the police officers pulled Sarah aside and told her that the driver of the Honda Civic and the driver of the car that had swerved around her had both been killed in the accident. Shocked, the only thing Sarah could think to do was to call back that number she didn't recognize that had effectively stopped her from getting onto the highway and maybe even stopped her from being hit by that Honda Civic. And so she wanted to talk to this person and thank them for saving her life. But when she called the number back, the person did not pick up. However, it went to her voicemail. and it said, "Hi, you've reached Aurora. Leave your name and number after the beep." Sarah could not believe it. She said she had never felt goosebumps like that in her entire life. The next day, Sarah tried calling the number again, and this time the woman, Aurora, answered the phone. The two got to talking, and Sarah explained her crazy dreams and now this crazy car crash thing and how it's all connected. And Aurora would tell Sarah, like, "That's amazing. This is a crazy story you're telling me, except I didn't call you last night. I have no idea how you got my phone number." And so at the end of this phone call, the two women really had not reached any sort of explanation for how this came to be, how they came to be talking. But they ultimately just said, "Okay, hey, thanks and best of luck to you." And then they hung up. After the call was over, Sarah found herself just kind of sitting there, not really sure how to react to what had just happened. It was such a totally bizarre thing that she had just been through over the past 24 hours. And then if you include the dream, this has been a multi-year long thing. And so on a whim, Sarah just opens up her Facebook account and she plugs in Aurora's full name because Aurora had given her her full name on this phone call they had just had. And when she looked at her phone, when the results came in, Sarah nearly fainted. Right at the top of the results page was this woman, Aurora's Facebook account, and her profile picture showed her face. And when Sarah looked at her face, it was the exact same face she had seen so many times in her dreams. It was the same Aurora with the striking features and long black hair. The woman in her dreams was the woman who called her and saved her life.
Make sure you drop your scary story in the comment section below. And if it matches with mine in any way, I'll give you $100.
Where's that coming from? Maybe it's woodpeckers. It's either that or the demons. They love to interrupt. And you know what demons really hate is that when you laugh at them and you don't take them seriously and you just say, "Oh, it's just you. It's just you."
It's just you.
Trying to interrupt the telling.
Trying to steal from me.
One of the greatest stories and parables ever told. Well, maybe I'll chase off the demons. I'll be right back.
Chase them off first, Pop. Get them on out here.
Is that the iPhone 13?
Yeah, why?
You did the reading. Just surprised your parents got it for you.
They didn't. I bought it myself.
You're kidding. How could you afford to pay for it?
Do my business.
Isaiah, instead of paying attention to your phone, maybe you should try paying attention in class. Then you'd be able to answer the question.
What do you mean? I can answer it.
Okay. Why don't you come up and show us?
Go ahead, little man. Show her what's up.
All right. I'll start by labeling each corner. Let's call this one A, this one B, this one C, and this one D.
D.
Next, I'll draw a line between B and D. So what two shapes does that leave us? Jerry?
I don't know.
Triangles. That wasn't a hard question.
Here you go get beat up.
Hey, little man, you better watch out.
Hey, he was just being playful, okay?
Since we know ABD is a right triangle, using the Pythagorean theorem, we can get BD by 15 squared plus 15 squared equals 450. But also, it's not difficult to figure out 21 squared plus 3 squared is also 450. Which tells us what, Jerry?
They're the same.
Yo, I'm not playing around with you, Isaiah. I'm serious.
That BCD is also a right triangle. Great job, Jerry. Now that we know both are right triangles.
How is he so smart?
I don't know, but I heard he skipped a bunch of grades to get here.
Plus 1/2 times 21 times 3, which gives us a grand total of 144. Right, Jerry?
I'm so impressed, Isaiah. You got it right. High five. Great job. All right, I graded everyone's test. Make sure you grab yours on the way out. Did really good.
Nicely done. So, how did you?
Hey, you can meet me in the alley after school. You gonna pay for this.
Okay. I'll be there. Sorry about the rude interruption. What were you saying?
You're not scared of him?
Nah, he needs me. He just doesn't know it yet.
Jerry, forgetting something?
Oh, yeah.
If your grades fall too low, you won't be able to play football, you know?
Yeah, I know. I'm working on it, though. Yeah.
There you are. Thanks. Isaiah, great job. Perfect score.
Thanks, Teach. Next time, you may want to think twice before calling me out.
Probably gonna chicken out, though, huh? You know he's not gonna come. Okay. Come here. So you making me look bad in front of the whole class, huh?
To be fair, you made yourself look bad. Which you're about to do again right now.
Hey.
He schooled that boy,
Stay with me, baby. You wanna go home to your mommy? What you mean, no? Huh?
Oh, hey, come on, man. First things first, man. Never use your kids as a pawn for your relationship. That just gets under my skin, man. Them kids have no part in it. People do that all the time, and it aggravates me. Pitting your kids against each other, against the parents and stuff, man.
What you mean,
Don't
no?
do that.
You wanna stay with me? You wanna stay with Daddy? You sure?
Well, good. You're a good dad then.
I love you.
As you should.
What? I love you more, honey.
Oh.
Daddy's a princess.
Oh. Little girl.
Of course you can stay with me, Mama. I want you to stay with me. I want you to come and live with me, honey. You hear me?
As any dad should.
And Daddy gonna make that possible. Believe that in Jesus' name.
As a result, Michael's access to Anaya became more restricted. He was no longer allowed to visit her without a third party present, either a social worker or a court monitor.
What?
This not only made Michael feel even more isolated from his daughter, but also marked the beginning of a difficult legal battle that would leave him feeling powerless to protect her. Despite these mounting issues, Michael's love for Anaya never wavered. He continued to fight for the custody he believed he was entitled to, desperate to...
I feel like nobody should be able to take their parenting rights away from unless the kid is in severe danger or addicted to drugs. Other than that, most things can be worked out.
Sure she was safe. But every time he thought he was getting closer to a solution, something in the system or his relationship with Sierra stood in the way. Desperate to protect his daughter, Michael began photographing the injuries. He documented everything, every bruise, every cut, every scrape. He needed proof, and he wasn't going to let Sierra's dismissive explanations keep him from taking action. But despite his increasing concerns, Sierra's response remained the same. She downplayed it all, telling Michael that his daughter was simply fine and that these marks were just part of growing up. Michael's frustration grew. Cuyahoga County Children and Family Services, CCFS, had already been notified, and yet nothing had been done. He continued to file complaints with the agency, hoping they would step in.
All it should have to take is just one complaint.
Same. No action, no intervention. He was left in a constant state of helplessness, unable to protect Anaya, as he watched the situation worsen. Meanwhile, Anya's behavior began to change. The bright, energetic child who once loved to sing and dance was now withdrawn and emotionally distant. She seemed to shut down in Michael's presence, unable to express the joy she once did. Her once lively spirit had been dimmed by the and neglect she endured daily. Daycare workers at Harbor Crest Daycare started noticing Anaya's injuries too. They saw bruises, abrasions, and burns
That
on her
beautiful
body,
little girl.
marks that appeared almost
That's
daily.
crazy.
These workers didn't stay silent. They filed 18 reports to their supervisors, detailing the injuries they saw.
As they should.
In one report, a daycare worker noted that Sierra frequently dismissed the concerns, claiming that Anaya was a liar.
She looked crazy, too. She looked
When
crazy.
she was knocked to the ground by her son, she suddenly noticed a change in her son's eyes. It was no longer that innocent and harmless look like before. He even deliberately let out heavy breaths. The woman pushed him away forcefully, but the next second, the boy was back to his old self. That night, she still hadn't fallen asleep, but the boy quietly crawled to her bedside and gently touched her skin. This eerie feeling made her feel sick to the core. But this wasn't the scariest part.
I ain't gonna lie, that did not look like a sick feeling she just was having.
The next day, there was a party at home.
Like she was
and her
relaxed.
new husband interacted normally as usual. Just then, she noticed that her son was glaring at her fiercely from the side, as if she were some kind of prey. She began to wonder what was wrong with this boy. She thought about finding a proper time to get to the bottom of it. But in the evening, the son actually said, "Mom, I have to kill you." The woman was shocked on the spot, but the boy didn't listen to her scolding at all and ran up to the attic without looking back. Since there were still a lot of guests at home, she held back her emotions and didn't lose her temper. She decided to talk to her son the next day, but before she could say a word, something cut her hand. She looked down and found that there was actually a razor hidden in the gap of the piano. She immediately realized it was her son's prank. Just as she was about to confront her son, unexpectedly, there came the boy's cries for help from the cellar. When she was knocked...
Don't go in the cellar.
Just when I thought I heard about all the worst cults in history, this one had to come and blow them out of the water. This is Colonia Dignidad. They were a German torture cult hiding out in the Chilean wilderness after World War II, aka Yahtzees. And to show you how terrible they were, let me tell you a story.
Yahtzees?
As a quick reminder, if you want more info...
What is a Yahtzee?
Oh, you can check out the podcast. The leader of this cult was a known child abuser, and he wanted more Chilean boys to be brought to him. So he started a hospital in the community and used it as a trafficking system to get...
Nah, what?
One day, a young Chilean boy choked and was rushed to the hospital. And right when he got there, a nurse scooped him up, brought him to a room, and saved his life. But later that day, his sister arrived and asked a nurse when she could pick him up to take him home. And the nurse responded that they needed to monitor him for a few more days, which is pretty suspect in a choking case. So a few days later, she comes back and she's like, "Okay, can I get my brother?" And the nurse tells her that he's not there anymore. And this is because the hospital had lawyers on staff that were drafting up adoption paperwork when young boys would come in. The cult was able to legally adopt boys in the community without the parents' consent, and the parents had not enough money to do anything about it.
And he
there
got
are
a short
so many
ass.
more stories about this place, and I had never heard of it before, so make sure you check out this week's episode for more info.
So this woman, let's call her Bet, and Bet has a problem. One day, her adult son just disappears, gone with no explanation.
He's adult. That's what we want.
Dexter. And Dexter, he's 37. He's had some issues in the past, so he's living with his mom until he can get back on his feet. And one day, Dexter and Mom get into a little argument over a broken window in the house. And Dexter gets so mad, he storms out. And Bet's like, all right, whatever, he'll cool off. And after a couple of days, Dexter hasn't called, and he hasn't come home, and Bet starts to worry. So she tries to locate Dexter herself. She's like calling his friends and stuff, but after several days, no luck. So then she calls the police to report Dexter missing. But unfortunately, police don't have any leads. So weeks go by and Bet continues to follow up with the police, but still, they got nothing. Then months go by and Bet's hitting up the police. And this whole time, Bet's been looking for him on her own too. Driving around neighborhoods, posting his photos all over her Facebook. And Bet is devastated. It's like this situation can't get any worse. Until one day, the investigator working on Bet's case retires and a new investigator takes over. 2 weeks later, the new investigator calls Bet and is like, guess what? We found Dexter. And at this point, the man has been missing for almost 6 months.
Wow.
So, where has he been?
Wow.
Well, we're gonna need to back up a little. This is Dexter, and one day he gets into an argument with his mom over a broken window.
He looks like a Poindexter.
In the house, and he gets so mad that he storms out. About 30 minutes later, he's walking down the road, and he goes to cross the highway, and suddenly,
Bam!
boom, he's hit by a car. But not just any car.
Gotta look both ways, man, nowadays.
Oh, but don't worry. The story gets much worse. So the county has allegedly had Dexter's body this whole time. The medical examiner tried bringing it up with the police. The original investigator, the one who retired, he tried bringing it up to the police. But for some reason, they didn't connect the dots, and I guess it slipped through the cracks, and no one contacted Bet. And because no one contacted Bet,
Stevie Wonder could have connected those dots.
Dexter's body was never claimed. And because Dexter's body was never claimed, the county ended up burying him behind the county jail in what's called a potter's field, which is a place they bury bodies that they can't identify. So Bet goes to the field, and it's horrifying. It's just one big field with mounds of dirt marked by numbers on it, and it stinks like bodies. Then Bet talks to local news outlets, and the story catches on. And news of all this starts to break nationally. And people start investigating, and it turns out there are 215 graves in this potter's field behind the county jail.
What
all filled with unidentified persons. And people start coming forward claiming that they had family members who they thought were missing too, but they weren't actually missing. They were just buried in this potter's field. And no one had notified the family. So now Bet and her attorney are trying to get the DOJ to start a federal investigation into this because all this is crazy. Shout out to Mississippi. So this
pounded my daughter after she saw me pleasuring.
I had to sleep with my
Pounded my daughter after she saw me pleasuring myself. I
had to sleep with my sister to prove to my parents that she was obsessed with me. It all started when she would bury her head under my skirt. She kept challenging me to climb an old tree house, which I finally did, only to realize she could see up my skirt as I climbed. I screamed at her to stop looking, and she acted like
This gorilla grabs a woman in the forest, and what happens next will shock you. Part 2. Alice saw the gorilla slowly approaching her. It tore off her shirt, and she began waving her arms and screaming in hopes of scaring it away. However, her screams were drowned out by the strong wind, pouring rain, and the noise of tree branches. The weather worsened, and almost no one could hear her cries for help. Surprisingly, the gorilla just stepped on her shirt a few times, and then led her on. Eventually, the gorilla stopped near a cave and took Alice inside. She curled up in a corner, hoping the gorilla would forget about her presence. Suddenly, she realized that throughout the ordeal, the gorilla had never harmed her. Perhaps the animal did not mean to do so. At that moment, the gorilla, which had not yet come close, seemed to indicate that it brought her there, seeking shelter from the elements. Gradually, Alice began to let go of her fear and was no longer afraid of the gorilla. It sat at the cave entrance, occasionally glancing at her as if to ensure everything was safe. Over the past few hours, Alice felt as if the animal fully understood what had happened, realizing that she was injured and needed shelter in such harsh weather. When the rescue team arrived, she was very grateful to the gorilla. As the rescue team slowly emerged from the cave, drenched by the rain, the gorilla began to walk away. Alice then told the rescue team about the incident, and they smiled and explained that the gorilla was wary of red items, coincidentally her shirt being red.
I was the youngest person ever sentenced to death in history. I was 14 years old and innocent. My story inspired the movie The Green Mile.
Wow.
My name is George Stenney and this is my story. I was born on October 21st, 1929, in South Carolina, United States. I grew up in a poor, black family in a country where racial segregation was deeply rooted. In 1944, 2 young white girls were found dead near my home. Betty June Binnicker, age 11, and Mary Emma Thames, age 7, were discovered in a ditch filled with water with severe head injuries. I was arrested and accused of their murder, without any motive or evidence against me. I was interrogated for several hours by the police, without the presence of a lawyer or my parents. They deprived me of food and sleep to force me to confess to the murder. Exhausted, I cracked and repeated what they wanted me to say. A month later, my trial began. It lasted only a few hours. The judge appointed me an incompetent lawyer. The jury was exclusively composed of whites. My family was prevented from attending the trial because of their race.
Wow.
The verdict came quickly and I was sentenced to death by electrocution.
Ain't no way.
My sentence was executed only 83 days after my arrest.
What?
On June 16, 1944. They tied me to an electric chair. I was too small, so they made me sit on a Bible.
A Bible?
They executed me at the age of 14, making me the youngest person ever to be executed in the United States during the 20th century.
Wow.
It took until 2014, 70 years after my death, for my conviction to be overturned and for my family to obtain justice. It was finally recognized that my constitutional rights had been violated and that the death penalty had been wrongly pronounced. My story is a sad example of how racial discrimination and prejudice can affect the justice system
That's so
and destroy
sad.
innocent lives. I hope that my story will help ensure that this never happens again.
That's sad, man.
Who is that? It is a family. Child scared of a family?
billionaire's family.
Okay, all right, enough of that. Hey.
What? Zora, give me your phone. I'm not on. Zora! So someone outside?
It's just a family standing outside. It's probably the neighbors.
You're kidding me, right? Hello, my name is Adelaide Wilson.
Are you seriously calling 911 right now? Everything's good. We lost power. All right, sure, okay.
Yes.
You know what?
What?
I'm gonna fix this.
No, we don't.
Find out
What?
who they are.
No, they haven't, but I
Find
know
out
they
what they
will.
want, and everything's gonna be fine. Calm down, okay?
No, that's too long.
Oh boy.
No, you don't understand.
How about we all just try to keep
calm? That's what I would say.
And everything's gonna be all right.
No, wait, just 1 second. Gabe.
He about to get bodied. He's about to get bodied.
I'm gonna have a vacation and my whole family lost their goddamn minds. Hi. Can I help you?
What's the word, gang? Don't talk much.
Okay. If y'all are out here trying to scare people, I think you picked the wrong house for that.
Zora, put your shoes on.
I asked you nice. Now I need y'all to get off my property.
You gotta come out with a blicky. I bet you they moved in if you popped out with a sawed off.
So you guys know about the Grim Reaper, right? Well, apparently one of my followers named Haley saw him. Before I begin, if you have a horror story that you want me to read, go follow my Instagram and send them through my DMs linked in my bio. So Haley told me this happened a month ago and it still keeps her up at night. She recently started working at a hospital on overnight shifts after college and was always told that she would see strange things, but she never once thought that she would be seeing the Grim Reaper. So before she actually confirmed that it was him, Haley said she would always see
the actual story behind Coraline.
Oh, it's based on real?
Yeah, it's based on a real thing.
Oh,
with the button eyes and stuff like that, the doll,
yeah,
that's all real. So in New Hampshire, there was a grandma and a little girl. And the grandma was taking care of the little girl because the girl's parents died in a fire. Like the whole house that they were living in.
She's so weird now.
The little girl got rescued like miraculously by the grandma. When she was taking care of her, she didn't let her go outside. Everybody referred to the grandma as like a bad parent. So there's these two kids that went into the house, that explored the house because they were like, where is this kid? So when they look around, they see clothes, like a kid's clothes everywhere. They go into the girl's room. It's a burned dead child's body.
Damn.
With
the girl?
Buttons replaced where the eyes should be. The girl didn't survive the fire. The grandma just wanted to hold her and keep her just to see, like,
oh my god,
just because she loved her so much, she wanted to keep her.
Oh my god, she just took the bodies?
Yeah. So she kind of turned her into the
Coraline doll. Oh
yeah. And remember, she did the actual story.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So this guy, She was warned. Last summer, I
Why
took
they
a
gotta
solo
do
road
that?
trip through the mountains. The missing plane landed 12 years later, but what police found
What
inside
the
was...
hell?
It was time for Mark and Caleb to get out of school. So my mom, she got to pick Caleb up. Mark, he normally would ditch his last period sometime and come home a little early, and me and him would normally go out and, chief in the back and shit. So my mom would grab her keys. She comes straight in the hallway. I got my door wide open. It ain't off the hinges yet. So she said, listen, I'm going to go get Caleb. You better not try nothing stupid. Don't do nothing stupid. Don't think of nothing stupid. Because I'm telling you, you do anything you shouldn't do while I'm gone, I'm going to break your legs. I'm going to hurt you. You hear me? Right? Because I was just sitting there looking at her. She like, you hear me? I'm like, yes. She said, what I'm going to do to you? I'm like, you going to hurt me? And she said, what else I'm going to do to you? I'm like, and break my neck. She like, there you go. She like, I'll be back. I'm going to feed you. So she leaves, boom. I feel relieved, right, that my mama done left. I feel fucking relieved, like, thank God. So now I'm roaming around the house. I feel free to leave out my room. So I go in the bathroom, and I went to go look. We have a long mirror, right, on the door. So I went to go look, and I looked in the middle of my back. I was bleeding right there. It was because my back was hurting. And that's the only mark I got on my back. And then I looked at my thigh area, and I was like, oh my God, you know what I'm saying? Like, she gonna kill me, like, this hurt. And every time I touch it, like, you can see the meat in the inside.
Ooh, golly.
So back door opening. So I hurry up and run in my room because I think it's my mom. So Mark come in, Rody Doty, you in here? Because normally I make it in there 5 minutes before he do. So I didn't say nothing. And he come upstairs and he look and he like, bro, what's wrong? I'm like, come here, hurry up. I'm like, matter of fact, let's go in the living room. Because I wanted to keep my eyes looking out because we had windows that you could see out, but you couldn't see in our house. So I'm like, so we could see if she pulling up. You know, I could go run back to my room. So I'm like, mama just beat me. He like, what happened? I'm like, I got caught with the Zaza. He like, how the fuck that happened? I'm like, we had a sweep at the school. He like, dang, y'all don't notice? I'm like, hell no. I'm like, I tried to break running. I'm like, I got caught giving him the rundown. He like, oh shit. He like, I got a fat blunt roll right now. He like, I know you don't want to smoke. He like, what mama do to you? I'm like, she beat me bad. So I show him my back. He like, damn, what she hit you with? I'm like, a extension cord? He like, a extension cord?
A extension cord?
Hell no. So we see mama pulling up. I'm like, there she go. So he hurry up, run to his room. I hurry up, run to my room, right?
Yep.
I get in my room. My mama come in. She got Caleb McDonald's and shit. So Caleb go to his room. She got Mark McDonald's. She tells me to come downstairs.
She ain't got nothing for you.
Sardines on the plate for me.
Oh, that's
eat. So now it's time for Mark and Caleb to get out of school. So my mom, she got to pick Caleb up. Mark, he normally ditch his last period sometime and come home a little early, and me and him will normally go out and, chief in the back and shit. So my mama grab her keys. She comes straight in the hallway. I got my door wide open. It ain't off the hinges yet. So she say, listen, I'm going to go get Caleb. You better not try nothing stupid. Don't do nothing stupid. Don't think of nothing stupid, because I'm telling you, you do anything you shouldn't do while I'm gone, I'm going to break your legs. I'm going to hurt you. You hear me? You hear me? Right? Because I was just sitting there looking at her. She like, you hear me? I'm like, yes. She say, what I'm going to do to you? I'm like, you going to hurt me? And she said, what else I'm going to do to you? I'm like, and break my neck. She like, there you go. She like, I'll be back. I'm going to feed you. So she leaves, boom. I feel relieved, right, that my mama done left. I feel fucking relieved, like, thank God. So now I'm roaming around the house. I feel